So, can you just please introduce yourself in the way that you want to be introduced?
My name is Lisa Forestell, and I am from the United States. I currently serve as the chair of Intervoice within the Hearing Voices movement, and I am a voice hearer.
Can you tell us something more about voice hearing or your personal experience? How do you see that?
I've heard voices that other people don't since I was a little child, since I was maybe 3. My first memory is of my voices, and I grew up with them, and as I grew up I learned that other people didn't also hear voices like I did, and that they thought it was very strange, and maybe they picked on me a lot, and so my voices and I decided to go quiet. We closeted ourselves and didn't share our experience with others. And I lived most of my life that way. And it wasn't until I learned of the Hearing Voices movement that we considered living more out loud. And we did that maybe 8 years ago. So most of my life we were very quiet. It's kind of life-saving to not be that way anymore. We got really good at it, but we didn't realize how much we were missing. So I have one voice now who he's like he's accepting an award, and he's very proud and happy to be here, and he keeps saying that over and over again. One of the reasons that we decided to live out loud was because he thinks we are fated to help create spaces where people can live like we do now. So he thinks our work is very important. I do too. He's more sure that we can do it than I am because I get nervous. And since then I have done strange things like travel the world and meet people with incredible stories, and feel my heart bond with other voice hearers, as I learn over and over again that my voices and I are not alone.
And how do you explain, or what kind of meaning does it have, this experience for you, to hear voices? Does it connect to some biography or personal narrative, or what?
Yeah, I understand my voice hearing to be something I'm capable of, and I wonder if more of us are capable of it, and maybe we grow out of it. There's a lot of research that shows that there's a high incidence of children that hear voices, and they do kind of grow out of it. And I wonder if I was just one that didn't, and maybe that has always been with humanity, and that we are more dependent on physical cues and other ways of being together, so we don't maintain that skill. And beyond that, I don't try to make too much meaning of it. It is kind of like putting your shoes on in the morning. You don't explain it, you just do it. And because my life has always been this, it is kind of like trying to explain to somebody why I have family. You know, we all have family. So it's just a very, innate or always part of my experience.
Very inspiring. And this is my reflection that I'm going to be in the video. And this year's topic of 10th Hearing Voices Conference is human rights and human voices. Why is it important to speak about human rights in the context of voice hearing?
I think it's most important because those of us that hear voices have been so marginalized. So even as a small child, I got a very strong message that I wasn't welcome as myself with my experiences in public. And so I was maybe 7 or 8 when I got that message strongly enough to change how I was being with people. And if that's the case, if we can't be who we are, then it can be nothing other than a human rights movement. It's always felt that way for me. So my very first Congress was in 2012, and all of the workshops that I wanted to go to were those that were already focusing on human rights. So yes, not only do we have our own voice, but we have the voices of others that we speak on behalf of. That is, he's still accepting an award, but he wants us to know that he gets to choose how he lives, and that he lives as my companion, and that he doesn't miss the rest of the world, and he doesn't miss the poor treatment of others. And so I think kind of as my companions and I are kind of family, and as a family we are quite devoted to human rights just in general practice. And to see folks, especially those that have been brought into psychiatric care, lose their agency, their ability to choose their own paths, and to not generally be recognized in an intersectional way with other marginalized factions of our society, is terrifying. And it's being kind of ignored by our general populace, and even other marginalized people don't realize that there is a connection between those of us that have ended up in psychiatry or mental health and those of us that have had civil rights atrocities or other kinds of marginalized behavior inflicted upon us.
Just for the end, why is it, can you tell us your experience? Why is it important to have conferences, or what conferences brought to you, for example?
I think the importance of the conference is to meet people like you, and to it reminds me again and again that I'm not alone. So in my world at home, we have our groups, and we get together and we remind ourselves that we're not alone. But then we think maybe we're the only group, because there's not a lot of groups next door to us. And so we close each of our groups with an awareness that we are part of a movement, and that movement is international, and it's 32 plus countries and growing all of the time, and that there is agency, and there is sustainability, and there is commonality in our experience that wraps around the globe, and that every moment of every day, even when we're sleeping, there's likely a Hearing Voices group happening. And this is just kind of that pinnacle of that every year, is when we come together and kind of bow down to all the work that's being done around the world yearly.
Beautiful. And just in one sentence, what would you say to voice here who are listening to you and seeing this video in Czech Republic, maybe, but they don't know anything or very little about Hearing Voices?
One sentence is, you are not alone. So you are not alone. Seek out your friends; they are here.
Thank you.